Hello, everybody, and welcome. No, well, I didn't see. Fuck, why? Oh my god, my brain is like scrambled tonight. Hang on, I gotta do this again. I'll edit all this out.
Start drinking some garlic tea.
This is Up for Debate, episode number 242, recorded October 6th, 2022. Hello, everybody, welcome to this episode of Up for Debate, the debate podcast with two of us agree on everything. I'm Shriek Jack-O-Lantern, joined as always by Rat Scariani. Hello, Matt.
How long have you been sitting on that one, Sean?
I have to say, Jennings was very hard. Your name was so easy. Rat Scariani was like
That's
2
good.
seconds. Sean Jennings does not translate well.
I'll remember that the next time I have to host a scary murder mystery theme or variety night. You ever go to a murder mystery? Like theater or like production? We attended one together, I think.
You and
I'm
I?
not mistaken. We did, I believe.
I put one on that you attended.
Yes, you did. And I'm pretty sure we also attended one that was put on for us in our university's cabaret.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. I super vaguely remember that.
I don't really remember the details of it. I just remember that we were both there. And I think we had an okay time.
That sounds like something we would do. Yeah.
It does.
Yeah, that's right up our alley.
It does, yeah. What are we doing tonight, Sean? What's on the spooky agenda?
Well, that's it, Matt. We are in Spooktober, or better name TBD. Jackotober? I don't know. We're going to work on that. But Matt, it's the scariest month of the year. We always do spooky, scary episodes. Before we actually get into the topic, Matt, I pulled, because I was curious, this survey from YouGov, who surveyed 1,000 Americans asking the question, do Americans actually like Halloween? It's a good question. What percentage of Americans do you think say Halloween is one of the question? They're agreeing with a statement. It's one of my favorite holidays. What percentage of U.S. adult citizens said it's one of my favorite holidays?
Well, since that statement is so non-committal, I think it's probably just saying it's one of my favorite holidays, not my favorite holiday.
Well, let me give you the options they could choose from. So the question is, which of the following best describes how you feel about Halloween? Is it, it's one of my favorite holidays? I like it, but it isn't one of my favorite holidays. I don't really like it. I refuse to celebrate Halloween.
It's such a cop-out survey because, like, it should be.
It really is.
It really, ideally, it should be like rate Halloween on a scale of 1 to 5, or 1 to 4, and like 4 is I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. 3 is it's okay. It's in my top 2 or 3 favorite holidays, but it's not my favorite. And then 2 should be like it's okay, but it's not even in my top 3. Because there's not really many holidays, and they keep taking them away. So there's less and less holidays every year. I think that to answer your question from before, there's probably like I would say like less than 30%.
That's a very good guess. 23% overall. Although interestingly, 18 to 29-year-olds, 30%, the highest. 65 plus 11%. So definitely a big age gap, and 10% of U.S. adult citizens refuse to celebrate Halloween.
It's just an asinine survey, Sean. I'm sorry. I know that you didn't make the survey, but I think whoever made it, they need to do a better job of surveying, because that's not how you do a survey.
Well, I can give you some alternate.
It's not sound data collection. Because you didn't give you didn't give them the choice of any kind of polarizing. There's no polarizing options. When you start out with the statement, "It's one of my favorite holidays," then you've already lost. You've already lost me. Your survey is garbage. I'm sorry.
But how about this? I got some crosstabs if that's more interesting. When asked one of their favorite holidays, if you break it by race. White Americans say 27% say it's one of their favorites. Only 6% of Black Americans.
Okay.
Interesting.
I'm sure there's a lot of good reasons for it. What do you feel? How do you feel about Halloween, Sean?
If YouGov called me and asked me to take this survey, I would probably score it. I like it, but it isn't one of my favorite holidays. Which is up, by the way, because if you asked me like 3 years ago, it probably would have been, I don't really like it. I've come around a bit.
So you think that your experience with Halloween has improved as you've gotten older? Usually, I think that there's a significant bell curve when it comes to Halloween and our enjoyment thereof. And I think it's more like it's like a reverse bell curve. If there, I think that we generally start out like a pretty low, like when we're really young and we're so young that our parents are still dressing us up. Our enjoyment's I think on the low-ish side. I think it gets higher then, and I think it peaks around middle school, and then I think it starts to trend down again. And I think it hits. I think it kind of hits its bottom. It hits its kind of peak unenjoyment, probably right before college, so maybe late high school. I think that's when you're at the bottom, because then it's you're responsible for your younger siblings, and you don't really get to have as much fun as everybody's experience is different, sure, but I feel like there's not a whole lot to do for high schoolers in Halloween. It's if you go door to door, you might get judged for being too old to trick or treat. I mean, at least that was not really my experience. I kind of stopped trick or treating at a certain age, but I could see that happening, if that makes sense.
Well, that's what's interesting about this survey is I talked about how it's one of my favorite holidays, decreases as you get older, but I like it, but it isn't one of my favorite holidays. Actually dramatically increases as you get older, going from 29, 37, 43, 51% by the time you get to 65 plus, with I don't really like it, staying relatively consistent. So it's interesting. I would argue I probably follow a lot of people, it would seem, where
I don't like the survey. Because the option is it's so non-committal. It's I like it. It's okay. It's a centrist tack, and usually surveys like this just kind of gravitate toward the median, and they gravitate toward the centrist view, and that's kind of what we see here. Is that people become more susceptible to groupthink as they get older. I think they just say it's okay, it's not their favorite, because they don't really want to rock the boat. They don't want to say I hate Halloween or I love Halloween. They don't want to take a firm stance one way or the other.
Well, there's another part of the survey down here where they asked to compare it. Do you like Halloween more or less than the following U.S. holidays? 47% prefer Halloween over Valentine's Day, 35% over New Year's Eve. Interesting. I'd like to know the 13% of absolute lunatics who think Halloween is better than Christmas. I don't even have a problem with Halloween. Halloween is not better than Christmas. I'm sorry. It's just not.
Sean, I have to mention that I am married to one of those lunatics.
Oh, get out of it. Stop it. Stop it. But is
I'm
that
not
for
joking
a dislike
about this.
of Christmas or a like of Halloween?
Sean. I wish I was. I wish I was joking. My wife finds her favorite Halloween is her favorite holiday, and she likes it even more than Christmas. And she is probably the only person that I know, bar maybe one or two others, that have the same opinion. But I kind of get it in a weird way though. People's mileage with Christmas can vary based on their family and how chill they are with their families, so that could play a factor. But also Christmas is usually it's a very stressful holiday. I'm sure you might agree. As an adult, as a kid it rocks. As a kid it's awesome, but as an adult I find Christmas to be probably the most stressful holiday. Actually, definitely the most stressful holiday. It is the most stressful holiday. You have to shop for all your relatives. You have to cook for all your relatives. You have to get the house ready if you're hosting, or if you're not hosting, you have to drive, and you have to get stuck in Christmas traffic. Hang on.
Online
shop, in-person shop, to find the perfect gift. There's a lot of pressure on that holiday, Sean. There's
Yeah,
no
but so
pressure
is
on
Halloween.
Halloween. What pressure is
God,
on
there's
Halloween?
a ton of pressure on Halloween.
There is no
what are you
pressure
talking
on
about?
Halloween.
You got to find a costume. That's a lot of work.
It
you
is
gotta find
not.
something that's like, it is. It's so difficult. Then you got to decide, am I giving out candy? How much candy? What kind of candy? That's stressful. If you've got kids, you got to take them to strangers' houses and have to beg for candy.
First of all,
it's stressful.
I just let my wife pick out my costume. Problem solved.
Okay,
right?
well, not all of us are married to your wife.
Second of all, Sean. Second of all, if I didn't do that, I would just take the laziest route possible. I think you might remember, I'm the guy that wore a top hat as a Halloween costume, and that was it, right? So it's very easy. I think we make too big a deal out of it, but I think the social pressure is pretty low. Nobody's like, oh, I wonder what Sean's going to be for Halloween. I have very high expectations for what his costume is. I don't think so. I think that's Matt, all you built all of that up.
Do you have to wear a costume to work? Do you have a costume day?
Sort of. Like I think it's not. Well, I wouldn't say it's a requirement, but I would say that it is a strong. It's strongly advised, but it's definitely not a requirement. It does not stress me out at all. I usually come up with something very, very easy. I bought a toga.
Okay.
I invested in a toga, and I usually just throw that over my like regular work clothes, and then I'm dressed up. That's my go-to for Halloween, and it works. Being a history teacher, it works out. So, easy, very easy. I could wear like a helmet. I could wear like a wig. One year I was a Supreme Court justice. I wore like a judge robe and glasses. I was Antonin Scalia specifically, and I think that's
not even a good one.
No, but it was literally just because I was the only Italian in the department, and and that was a theme. It was a department theme. We were all Supreme Court justices.
Was Sonia Sotomayor
Who else was I going to be? Right, I'm not going to be Sonia Sotomayor. Like somebody else already claimed that. So.
Now, Matt, maybe you can help me. I need a costume this year. And it seems like it just comes so easy to you. I have to dress up for work and go in for the day wearing a costume. And I'm very bad at it.
What is it your company does again? They make like staples or something?
No, we manufacture screws and fasteners and fastening accessories.
Sean, I think you just made your what do you? Okay, go in as a giant screw. Get a screw costume. Oh my God!
You can't just say get a screw costume.
Time out. Get a screw costume. Get a pair of glasses, like little like bifocal. You see where I'm going with this? Bifocal glasses, and get a cane. Get like a walking cane, and your Ebenezer Scrooge. Sean.
No. Oh, yeah. Why did I ask?
Yeah, no, come on. That's what you have. I think you have to do it now. You have to do it. You're Ebenezer Scrooge. It would be hilarious, and everybody at the office would think it was so funny that you have to do it. If any of Sean's coworkers are listening to this, make him do it. No, he's going to be Ebenezer Scrooge.
I highly regret saying anything at all. Okay.
It's going to be great.
Anyway,
Sean, let's get you a screw costume.
No. Let's not. Let's move on to tonight's topic, Matt, because all month long we're going to be doing some spooky, scary things, some spooky, scary discussions. And this is a topic we've wanted to do for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, we proposed this way back, I think since we like really the early days of this podcast. This is one of the first ideas that we had, I think. We were sitting on it. We've been sitting on it for a while.
Oh, for sure. No, it's definitely been on our wish list, and now is the time to finally pull the trigger, Matt. We're going to be talking about the second most popular children's book series in human history. Over 240 books published in this series. Of course, I'm talking about got to give yourself Goosebumps, Matt. R.L. Stein's Scholastic's own Goosebumps, beginning in 1992 through today, over 400 million books sold worldwide in 32 languages, the second best-selling book series in history, behind Harry Potter, which is actually interesting to think about because R.L. Stein took 240 books to become the second best-selling ever, and J.K. Rowling just had 7. So they must have really sold a lot of those.
Harry Potter himself. So, Sean, what is your experience with Goosebumps?
Great question, Matt. Great question. I certainly did. I would say my opinion towards Goosebumps is very similar to that Halloween. I like it, but it's not one of my favorites. No, I did read Goosebumps as a kid. I scrolled through the Wikipedia list of all of the Goosebumps title, recognized maybe a dozen that I could recall reading. I certainly didn't have a massive collection. I only read kind of a scattered mix of them. I enjoyed them, found them very interesting. I did like some more than others, but no, I would say I was a reader, but not an aggressive reader. What about you?
Sean, would it shock you if I told you that I have never actually read a Goosebumps novel in my life?
Oh my God. Well, what were you reading?
I was a big...
Were you a Jane Austen kid?
I was a Star Wars expanded universe kid. So I read a lot of the Star Wars expanded universe books, which are now called the Star Wars Legends books. Which are pretty much like they were like novelizations of really good Star Wars stories that never got adapted into like film. And that was a lot of. I was also a big mystery reader. I loved one of my first like authors that I could say was like a favorite author of mine was Agatha Christie. I read a lot of her stuff. I loved mysteries in general. Sherlock Holmes. I kind of read a little bit. What else was I reading? I mean, I read the Iliad, but that like when I was in like, I was young. I don't remember how old, but I read like myths and legends and stuff. That kind of Lord of the Rings, of course, like Hobbit.
Okay, so a little more advanced.
In the realm of horror, Sean, the realm of horror, the book that I remember the most fondly, that maybe we'll do a future episode on, was the short story compilation, the one that every kid read. That, and I just said I jinxed myself because I said I remember it the most fondly, and now I look like an idiot. It's the short story, scary short stories to tell in the dark. Scary stories to tell in the dark. Yeah, that's what it is.
Sure.
I was about to Google it, and then it just kind of came to me. My brain is just that way today. So
I wonder if I ever read that.
No, that book, I read that one, and then I read more stories more scary stories to tell in the dark, and those books were my like horror jam. Love those books, and then I got into like Poe. I've
never read them.
Okay,
we may have to do that
on that.
I would say
basically like these vignettes, these little like horror vignettes, very like short stories, but very like creepy and kind of like scary. Especially when you're a kid, very unsettling. But the most unsettling thing about the book was the artwork. If you Google some of the artwork from this book, I think it'll give you nightmares today as an adult.
Seems scary.
It definitely will to me. So, the illustrator did a very good job with that.
Well, I would say, I mean, this is embarrassing. I was a grade A dork. So around this time, I was more advanced than Goosebumps, but not quite up to Stephen King. So I was reading the discount Stephen King, Dean Koontz. I was reading Dean Koontz novels around this time.
I've heard the name. I thought he was like a crime writer. Is he not?
No, he has science fiction.
Okay.
I wouldn't call him...
Dean Baldacci or that guy? Yeah. Okay.
No.
Not
No,
in that
and
kind
it's
of
not
vein.
horror. It's a little more twisty. But the funny thing is he does the Stephen King thing where he's also from Maine and also writes a lot of stories set in Maine. So it is very funny that he really is like genuinely. I've read him, and he really is a discount Stephen King. He really is like the light, low calorie version, which is why he was right up my alley.
I don't know. Have you read a lot of Stephen King?
Again, I would not say I've read a lot. I have read some. It's weird. I've read a bunch of the short stories more than I've read the full novels, like his collections, which I find very good. I found very good.
I enjoy. I love his. I mean, I think my view of Stephen King is probably the most like stereotypical view a reader has of Stephen King, where it's you like his writing style, you like his prose, you like his narrative voice, but what you don't like is when like you get 3/4 through the book and he doesn't know how to stick the landing, so the entire last act is like this bananas, like almost like cocaine fueled trip that doesn't really seem like it makes any sense, and then the book just ends, and that's it. That seems to be his, in all the books that I've read from Stephen King. That's a trend. That's definitely a trend. And that's just him. I think that's just his style. I enjoy his books for probably the first three quarters, and then that last part always loses me, and I always wish that he had done, like, he kind of wrapped things up differently. But that's my experience with King. I still enjoy him because I do genuinely like his stuff. And I also read a really good book about like how to write short stories and how to write fiction written by Stephen King that was very formative. So I'm a fan of King. Can't really say much bad about him, but I didn't read him so much when I was young, more like as I got older.
Well, you talk about things we want to do on the show. I would love for us to watch. Are you familiar with Maximum Overdrive, the movie?
Maximum Overdrive.
It is based on one of King's short stories called Trucks in his collection Night Shift, where all machines become sentient when Earth crosses the tail of a comet, initiating a worldwide killing spree. He directed the only film of his that he's ever directed himself. And he did it entirely on cocaine, and I've never seen it, but apparently the movie is insane.
Oh, it's got
King has since disowned the film, describing it as a moron movie, after which he had never intended to direct again. Yes, it's supposedly off the charts. So
music by AC/DC. Okay. Pat Hingle. Yeah.
Wild stuff. But we got to talk about Goosebumps, Matt. Goosebumps, obviously the popular children's television book series, later translated into television movies and a number of other spin-offs, debuted in 1992 from the author R.L. Stein, Robert Lawrence Stein. Prior to Goosebumps, he got a degree from Ohio State University, a Bachelor of Arts in English. He created the humor magazine Bananas, which he ran from 75 to 84. His first horror novel was in 86, which followed by a bunch of other novels. These weren't for kids. These were for adults. He co-created and was the head writer on Nickelodeon's Eureka's Castle. In 89, he wrote the Fear Street books, recently turned into a Netflix series. And it was... in 1992, he was approached to write Goosebumps by the folks at Scholastic.
He's from Cincinnati, Ohio.
That's right.
No, I'm sorry. I apologize. Columbus, Ohio.
Same thing.
Probably.
We don't have any fans from Ohio. I feel confident in that.
Suck it, Ohio.
No, he wrote 62 books in the original series. He says the name for the series came after he saw a TV station's ad and TV guide that stated it's Goosebumps Week on Channel 11. So there you go, with a number of spin-offs.
So I've been familiar with Goosebumps I mean, obviously as a 90s kid, it's in the zeitgeist, but I have never read a complete, to my knowledge, I've never read a complete Goosebumps work in its entirety. But that's all about to change, isn't it, Sean?
Yes, Matt, because coming through next week, we are going to be reading some of these Goosebumps books. And we're going to have to pick and choose some. A lot to choose from. It's important to note. I'll just note a couple things. Obviously, 62 books in the original Goosebumps run, but there were other Goosebumps series. Give Yourself Goosebumps. 50 of those were published from 95 to 2000, which were sort of those create your own adventure style novels where at the bottom it would say, oh, flip to page this if you want to do this and this to do that. Those were actually my favorite. I had a couple of the Give Yourself Goosebumps, and I really enjoyed those. So I'm probably going to read one for next week. They also did Goosebumps Series 2000, 25 books in that series, which Stein described as much scarier. And then there are a few other small series on top of that.
I'm excited to check them out. I think they must have aged quite well. As far as I know, they're still being read. They haven't been forgotten. So I think that they still hold up. I mean, I hope so. And the cover art of all of these are fantastic. The illustrators,
absolutely.
Illustrations are such a like a lost art. You know, like books used to have such clever and intense illustrations. Young adult books, especially. I mean, a lot of them probably still do, but I just remember as a kid, going back to even being a Star Wars reader, like some of those books had really nice covers, and these Goosebumps covers look phenomenal. Some of them.
Yeah, he illustrated over 100 Goosebump titles. Tim Jacobus. You can actually get these fantastic. He sells prints on his website, and they're reasonably priced, and they look amazing. I would love to hang one of these. Prints of the original illustrations without like the Goosebumps or anything, just the drawings. They look incredible. Yeah, I agree. Now, Matt, did you have a chance to look at the list of books?
I did. What I did was I looked at the list, and then I found a fan community online that actually ranked the. They did a complete tier ranking of their favorite and least favorite Goosebumps works.
Okay.
And I figured I would take an all-encompassing sample of those books to read and read for the first time for our show for the listeners.
So, would you like to? I don't have any paper to write on. Would you like to share what those are?
Yes, I will. I'm
curious if I've read any of them.
Do you have is there a favorite that you had that you were first off would recommend personally that you think I would enjoy?
Oh, that I think you would enjoy. That's a good question. You know, the funny thing is, because I know some of these, like a handful of them are like real Night of the Living Dummy, maybe the most famous one, put out Slappy, who is probably the most notable character of the entire franchise. I never read any of those like ultra classic ones, which is weird. I kind of had it was almost like a yard sale grab bag of like just random ones. But I'm trying to think if there's any I would recommend for you as I scroll through the list. Say Cheese and Die is a good one I've read. That's classic.
That's interesting because that was one of the ones that I had picked out already. The community ranked that in their S tier. They ranked that actually 4th overall. And the cover looked funny. It's got the cover art has a family of skeletons at like a cookout. It looks like they're like grilling meat on like a grill. and it's like it's a photograph of these skeletons just kind of hanging out on like what looks like a Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, if I vaguely, I don't think I'm giving anything away, but I vaguely remember the character. It's usually the plot of, I thought briefly, Matt, that it would be very funny to do a creative challenge where you and I write our own Goosebumps book, because they are pretty, I don't want to say templated, but there's a lot of consistency. It's usually a young person. I would say about 10% or 20% of these books, they find something and something goes wrong. In this case, they find an old camera. And when they take a picture, the picture doesn't match reality when it prints out. There's something wrong with it. And over time, it becomes reality changes to match the photo. And I remember being very positive on it.
I like the premise. That's like very Twilight Zone.
A lot of these are. There's a ton of these where it's like sort of an not educate, but sort of like a lesson learned kind of thing. Super common.
So I've got that. I guess I will read that. I like the premise. So write me in for Say Cheese and Die.
Okay, that's a good one.
How many are we picking?
No more than 3.
Okay.
I mean, they're children's books. They're pretty quick. So.
Besides that, I'll say the number 1. I don't want to pick all S tiers. I want to get like a little bit of a variety, but I'll say the number 1 book on the list is The Haunted Mask.
Yes, that is definitely one of the most famous. And also, I would say an S tier cover as well. The cover of The Haunted Mask is great.
I will agree. A very, very nice cover. Though not my favorite.
But it is
a favorite on here, I probably will pick that one. But I guess we could do The Haunted Mask looks good, or also there's Night of the Living Dummy, which has a really kind of creepy looking.
The most famous.
Yeah, that's they rank that 3rd in their S tier. But I bet I could guess the premise of that one. I want one that I'm going to be surprised at. And Night of the Living Dummy not only can I guess exactly what happens in that book. It's about a ventriloquist dummy that comes to life or something.
Sure.
Or maybe the ventriloquist becomes a living dummy. That's very Twilight Zone. I think there is a Twilight Zone episode that actually has that exact plot. But I think that I'd probably rather like look elsewhere, just because I want to get a good. I don't want to pick. That would be a 3rd S tier. So let's lock in Haunted Mask, and let's lock in Say Cheese and Die, and then we will say hello to we'll say goodbye to the honorable mentions, and we'll say hello to maybe an A tier book, but also in the S tier, One Day at Horrorland, one day at Horrorland, and Stay Out of the Basement.
Yeah, Horrorland is another one. R.L. Stine actually came out with a series called Goosebumps Slappy World, in which Slappy the Dummy is sort of the overall. It's the first series he did where there's a continuous. Or I'm sorry, I'm mixing them up. Goosebumps Horrorland is a spinoff where all of the stories actually like go over, they all connect, and it takes place at the theme park from Horrorland. So definitely a classic for sure.
If I was picking based on the cover artwork, so far, my favorite cover art, where is it? Is actually there's a lot of really good options here, but my favorite cover art is probably it's called Ghost Beach.
Ghost Beach?
Ghost
That
Beach.
sounds fake.
No, it's got like tombstones on a beach, and it's got like a Grim Reaper-esque ghost coming out of the ocean, which looks very the album cover. I mean I could say this about most of these, but the cover art of these books are very metal. It's a very metal cover. This is probably one of the most metal covers out here. Besides, the other one is The Curse of Camp Cold Lake, which is a very metal cover for a book. And it sounds like it could be like a Mastodon album or something.
Okay. Is that the one you're going to go with?
Have you read? You haven't read that one?
I have not read that one.
What about the Egg Monsters from Mars, Sean?
Have not done that one. I'm trying to look through the list of ones. So the ones, would it be helpful if I shared the ones I do remember?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
Yeah,
and I scrolled through the list earlier, but I'm going to scroll through it again. Why I'm Afraid of Bees. I think I read most of the bad ones.
Okay, I saw that one, and Why I'm Afraid of Bees was that's in the bottom rung of their B tier, Sean.
It's not great.
It's like very mid. It's like the definition of a mid tier Goosebumps book. Sorry to say.
My Hairiest Adventure.
What does the cover look like?
I think it's a kid in front of a mirror in like a bathroom.
Oh, okay. That one is even more. That's even more mid, Sean. That is the last book in the B tier. We're getting. Well, you're picking like right in the middle, the mid stock here.
But to be fair, part of the reason I remember that one is because that one was turned into an episode of the TV series, which I remember.
Well, Jack Black, right? Wasn't Jack Black in that?
No, the TV series.
Jack Black was in the movie
back in the 90s. Yes,
Okay.
It came from beneath the sink.
Okay, I found. All right, actually, that looks cool. I like the artwork cover on that. You've read that one, you said?
I have read that one. Yes.
So should we avoid the ones you've read already and pick new ones, or should we pick ones you've read and see if they hold up?
You can pick. I'm going to repick one that I've already read. So you can either pick or don't. It's totally up to you.
Oh, we're reading different books? I thought we were reading the same ones.
Oh, I thought we were reading different ones.
No. I like your idea better. Your idea better. Let's read.
We get
that way. We
in.
cover more ground. More ground. Sean, I want to lock in a favorite of mine. It's actually right next to It Came from the Sink on the tier list.
Okay.
By the way, both of these books are in the A. They're in A, so they're pretty good, and they're near the front of A. This one is called The Cuckoo Clock of Doom.
Ooh. Yeah.
I like the artwork. It's very it's like very Jethro Tull. And it's got like this bird on the edge of a plank walking out from a cuckoo clock, but the bird's eyes, like he just looks completely he looks possessed, but not possessed by like a demon, more possessed by like a Lovecraftian eldritch god.
Awesome. I'm very excited. The synopsis of I'll read the synopsis. To get back at his bratty sister Tara for ruining his birthday party, Michael vandalizes his father's new cuckoo clock by twisting the bird's head backwards so Tara will get blamed for it. His plan backfires when he finds himself reliving his disastrous birthday party and goes back in time every time he goes to sleep. I'm very excited for that. That sounds awesome.
Great.
That sounds awesome. Good choices, Matt. I think on mine, so I have my list here. I looked through all of these. The one I want to reread, I actually think I physically have my original copy in a box somewhere. And I'm going to see if I can find it and bring it out. The one I had as a kid. It was from the Give Yourself Goosebumps, which I've read probably 5 or 6 of. And I was these did more for me than the regular ones because you just got a lot of different endings, obviously, because it's a choose your own adventure. And I was pretty pretty on board with that. And there were two I really liked. The one I think I have is, I'm just scrolling through the list until I get to it. And again, I'm sure these weren't the crappy bad ones nobody liked. But come on, where is it? Oh, I went by it, didn't I? Would have helped if I'd written these down ahead of time. Beware of the Purple Peanut Butter. Published in 1996. The reader is spending the summer with their cousins Barney and Dora. Barney is a bully and Dora is a typical annoying little cousin. The reader's aunt and uncle don't want anyone in the basement. In the basement, there's a refrigerator that holds a jar of a purple substance that smells like peanut butter and a box of some chocolate cake. The story depends on which the reader chooses to consume when they suddenly get hungry. And crazy things.
Interesting premise.
Crazy things happen. There was that one, and then the other one I really liked was... The problem is there are two. Let me just check something. This is like another one of our Matt and Sean read Wikipedia. It was a Don't Feed the Vampire was the other one I really liked. The reader starts out with a costume called Vampire in a Can. A cheesy vampire costume stuffed into a can. The reader then finds a strange packet of red goo inside that will turn anyone who swallows it into a vampire. And the adventure goes on from there. So...
I might want to make a substitution. You said you've read Say Cheese and Die, right?
Yes.
No, actually, I like the plot of that. I don't know. I might add a fourth book, Sean.
That's okay. Or if you want to swap them out later, that's fine.
I'm tempted. I really want to read the Curse of Camp Cold Lake, and I know I'm probably going to read Curse of Camp Cold Lake, so I might as well read it for the show. So if I want, I might want to add that. The cover art is so cool.
When are you? What's exciting about that?
It's the cover. Look at the cover art. Look at it.
Uh-huh.
People at home, if you're not driving, if you can do this in a safe environment, Google.
Yeah. No, that's
that cover. The Curse of Camp Cold Lake.
Oh, it's so good. That is that one is that print is available on the Illustrator's website as a print. And I'm like, oh man, if I wanted people to think I would get a print of that.
Yes, that is a top tier cover. However, it's in their B tier of this community rating, this community ranking. But the cover, it's an S tier cover. Mm-hmm. It really is.
I strongly agree. On top of that, I will be reading Stay Out of the Basement, which is the second book in the whole series about a scientist's father who things get strange after some experiments. This one's been reprinted a lot. It's considered a classic. I'm curious where it is on your ranking.
Yeah, I'm actually just looking for it because I saw it earlier. I might have referenced it. Oh, I did see it. It is in the S tier, Sean. It is an S tier book, and it is ranked number 5 overall.
I've never read it, so I'm going to give that one a shot. I think that might be fun. And then the other one I'm going to do, number 19 in the series, and I'm curious about this one, because they made several of these in the sequence. Deep Trouble, which, according to the description, on vacation in the Caribbean island, Billy Deep is rescued from the jaws of a hammerhead shark by a mermaid who is targeted by Billy's uncle, Dr. Deep, for scientific experience about rare sea life. The reason I'm curious about this one is because of all of these that it read, this was the only one that doesn't sound scary. Like, all these others are like demonic scarecrows and giant worms and ghosts, but this one's like, he meets a mermaid who he has to save from his crazy uncle. Like, it doesn't sound scary, and that intrigues me.
What was it called?
Deep Trouble.
Deep Trouble, yeah. So that's nice cover art, too. It's got a giant hammerhead shark on it.
Yeah, very Jaws.
The giant hammerhead. I'm talking like almost like megalodon size. Man, maybe not that big, but it's got a big shark on it, and a comparatively very small human that is about to get chomped. He's like half submerged, and he's got his head like over the like surface, but he's definitely about to get bit. That's an A-tier book, Sean. That's A-tier.
Good. I'm excited to try it. Like I said, I am just curious if it's actually scary. Like I don't get the horror.
I'm glad that you picked that one. I was curious about that as well. So,
It's so funny. As I scroll through the pictures of the covers, I'm recognizing more of the covers of books I don't remember reading, and I'm wondering if I've either seen the covers or if I've actually read the books, because the covers are so iconic.
Yeah. Sean, did you know that Deep Trouble had a sequel? There's Deep Trouble 2.
I do.
Deep Trouble 2 is a low B. Very low B.
Yeah, I don't think many of the sequels really are highly ranked. Huh. God,
Makes
these are
sense.
great.
Makes sense. Sequels it's hard. It's always an uphill battle for the sequel. Yeah, no, these covers
Very
are great.
interesting.
Great covers. Phenomenal. Probably I can't think of another series. Maybe Harry Potter. Harry Potter had some pretty solid artwork.
Sure.
I think these beat them out a little bit. But there's an advantage because there's like a million of these books.
Well, but that's what's great, Matt, is there's 62 of them, and 90% of them are hits, cover-wise. Like, yeah, not all of them are great. Like, I will admit that. But, damn, if not, the good ones really slap.
You can't go wrong.
Oh, so Let's Get Invisible. I remember that one. Read that one. Yeah, these are great. These are great. All right. Well, I'm excited. This is going to be fun.
Oh, same. Yeah, this is one of our better ideas. I can say that.
Well, I guess we'll see next week. I'm curious to see if I can find any. I do think I kept one or two of these from when I was a kid in a box, and so I
just like when we read stuff. I'm into our reading. I know like we have a lot of variety on this podcast, and I think that's what's great about us. But I love our reading stuff. I love when we read and we talk about our book. I love our book club episodes.
Well, and I love when we read children's books because they're short and easy, and the words aren't very hard.
Get through them a lot easier than What Remains of the Day, or the Remains of the Day, or Wind Up Bird Chronicle.
Because now I'm curious, and this is a little off topic, but we're sort of wrapping up here. What is... Okay, so let's say we wrap this up, and we've done it. What's the next children's book series we should review? I mean, I think Harry Potter is like super obvious, and maybe that's why I'm not jazzed about it.
Nah, I say we mull that over. But
you're not ready to commit to any Chronicles of Narnia?
I've never read it. Have you?
Believe it or not, I had the book collection. And I read, because it's like 7 in the whole series, and I think I read like the first 4. But the problem is, other than The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and maybe the Prince Caspian book, all the other ones suck so. They're like so, because it's all an allegory for Christianity, obviously, and they're so bogged down and they're so boring and detailed, and there's like nothing of interest. The first one is like how the universe was created, and how Narnia was created. It's like, it's a snooze. It was painful.
The only connection I have with that series is I remember in like being very young, like 2nd or 3rd grade or something, and there was like a movie. I think it was done by the BBC. The BBC made like a Chronicles of Narnia movie. They like showed it to us in school for some reason, and it was It was all I remember is Turkish Delights.
Yes, of course.
There's the Turkish Delight plays a central role in the story somehow. And then there's a lion, obviously, because he's in the title. Aslan, is that the lion?
Yep, that is the lion.
Is that the Jesus lion? He's supposed to be Jesus.
Yes, he does die and come back, and it's a whole thing. I mean, I do think it would be amusing to read, but there's like
maybe
seven of them.
maybe we pull that. I don't know. I don't know a lot of children's series. I would be Hunger Games. I think the only other one.
Well, I have the answer. I just figured it out. This is such a our alley no brainer.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should do Roald Dahl.
Yes. Charlie.
There's so many.
Factory.
James and the Giant Peach. Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Was he Fantastic Mr. Fox? Yes. Okay.
He was. The BFG. The Witches. And Matilda.
Okay.
There's a lot of good stuff in here. That might be fun.
Okay. I'm on board for that. Sign me up for the Roald Dahl book club. Yeah. Okay.
Especially because then we can some of them we can watch the movies too. That would be fun.
Okay.
Right. I'm not going to make us say anything. It just thought in my mind where it's like, yeah, I think kids, in the summer we usually read kind of, for lack of a better term, adult books. But it might be fun to do some kids books once in a while. So, all right.
Cool.
Matt, this is great. I'm very excited that we'll get the chance to read these. And we are going to come back next week and report. We got some homework to do.
We sure do. Good. Goosebumps.
We sure do. I got a tease here because I do it at the end of that show. I really should at the end of this show. Don't panic. If people don't know, it's the show I do with our good friends Colby and Dan every week talking tech news. Matt, we did on last week's episode. We had a great time. I quizzed them. A survey came out of the most liked brands by Gen Z, 18 to 25-year-olds. What brands were they most favorable on? And some of the answers may surprise you. No, but literally in the top 20 was like M&M's. M&M's was 5. M&M's is the 5th most positive brand to that generation. Very
good.
Strange.
M&M's are good. There's nothing wrong with M&M's.
Nope. But also Walmart was number 6, which I'm I didn't think Gen Z liked Walmart that much.
It is a big thing. Kids, they like hanging out in Walmart and making TikToks there.
Is that okay?
They don't actually.
TikTok wasn't even in the top, but TikTok wasn't even in the top 50.
Well, if you think about it, I don't think
people like TikTok.
They don't think of TikTok. They love TikTok. They just don't view it as a brand. That's their TV. That would be like, what's your favorite brand? CNN. What's your favorite brand?
Yeah, maybe. I think people use
Cartoon
TikTok
Network,
and are addicted to TikTok, but I don't think people feel good about TikTok. You know what I mean?
The Gen Z
because there's lots of.
They feel good about it.
I mean, Facebook isn't that popular, but people use it every. Anyway, we're getting off topic here. Don'tPanic.io. Subscribe wherever you get podcasts.
I should have been on
the answers
this
to that and more.
It
would have been great. I mean, we dubbed because Colby and Dan competed. Colby won, and so he is now our official Gen Z correspondent. So,
okay, I would not want that.
He will be reporting on all things Gen Z. No, poor guy. It was more of a punishment than anything else. For this show, UpForDebate.tv is our website. Go there, get all of the past episodes. You can also subscribe wherever you get podcasts. Look for that purple icon. Of course, you can get a hold of us at UpForDebateTV on Twitter. Email us upfordebatetv@gmail.com. But that's going to do it here. On behalf of Matt Scariani, I'm Sean Jack-O-Lantern. Thanks for joining us tonight. We'll see you next time for an even scarier edition of Up for Debate.